Hey, welcome back to Reselect. This is Dave Gershman, your congenial host as always. I like to think so anyway. We, quite a show for you this week. It's a rockin' 90s show, all about the Pixies. Not all about the Pixies, actually. All about the album Doolittle by the Pixies. Eric and Sarah and I discuss the merits, and there are many, of the album. Pixies are a favorite 90s band, not just a 90s band, but a favorite band of mine, period. They're one of the great influential bands of all time, I would say. You know, they're not for everybody, but they certainly changed the sound of a lot of music that came after them. They had several classic albums. They've been a band on and off since then. I believe they're still sort of on. Every now and then I hear about a new Pixies album coming out, and I've listened to some of them, but I have to admit they aren't quite up to the level of the original set of albums. Part of that may be that Kim Deal is not really part of the band anymore, or I don't know if really is even the right word to say. I don't think she's part of the band. She was a key ingredient in their chemistry and their sound. Without her, it's more like, you know, I don't want to shortchange the rest of the members of the band, but it's a lot like a Black Francis solo album at that point. I hope you're all healthy. It's a crazy world out there still. You need to please be careful in many ways. Take care of yourself. Wear a mask. Hopefully this thing will start to wind its way down later this year. I really want to start traveling again. So I don't know about you, but how are you liking these podcasts? Are they good? Are you enjoying it? I hope so. Please send messages. Let us know what you think of the thing. And, you know, if you have suggestions for things we could talk about, albums or otherwise, please let us know. We'd be more than happy to think about it. And very likely, unless it's completely outrageous or just a terrible album, a generally known terrible album, which I'm sure none of our listeners would ever suggest anyway, of course. So it's not really a problem, I'm sure. Anyway, if you have something good to suggest, please send it to us via the reselectmusic.com website. There's a comment form on there that you can respond in. I think you can also potentially send comments through your podcast listener thing. I don't know. It depends on what you listen to it through. But please let us know what you're thinking about the podcast. Give us reviews, bad or good, you know. Tell us what we could do to make this more enjoyable for you. You cannot say, have Dave stop talking, because I'm not going to. But yeah, if you can, please do. All right, well, enough blabbing on about nothing in particular. Just want to say hello, welcome, enjoy the Pixies, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.
It's so beautiful out right now. I'm gonna be so
Somebody
bummed.
does a wheelie out of the driveway.
No, we do not ride like that. We would like to keep riding for many, many years.
Good.
We do not fuck around.
Glad to hear that.
Yes. All right. We ready to do this?
Yes.
Okay.
Fire
So,
All right, well, welcome back to Reselect. I'm Dave Gershman.
Eric Green here.
Sarah Wassel.
We're here to talk about the Pixies today and their album Doolittle,
Yeah.
1989.
So, do I get to introduce it, or are
You
gonna
sure do.
introduce it? Because
I'm sorry,
I thought I was gonna.
I was just adding that
I
little.
thought I was gonna get to
Yeah,
talk about it, but
that was all I was doing.
Are you sure?
That was it.
Can you really?
Go.
Anyway, I picked this record because I never listened to the Pixies, and I always wanted to, and knew I needed to get around to doing it. So, Doolittle, their second studio album, which came out in April 1989.
Oh, really?
You didn't know that, did you?
No, I was not aware.
It was released by a British independent label, 4AD, who in the 90s, they had other bands, Bauhaus, Cocteau Twins, Throwing Muses. In the 2000s, it was the Breeders, TV on the Radio, St. Vincent,
I actually didn't realize they were still in operation as a label.
I think they're like a subsidiary of a bigger label now.
I'm a huge Throwing Muses fan also, and yeah, they were like late '80s, early '90s, as you said, and so like I was aware of them from that, and then the Pixies and stuff. But
It was recorded for $40,000, which is pretty standard.
yeah,
But I don't really know what that means. Like, is that all?
there's not a lot of studio trickery or anything going on this album. It's like mostly just instrumental stuff you get out of your instrument and put down on tape, and there's like effects on those, but.
Do we call him? What do we call him? Black Francis?
At the
Frank
time,
Black?
he was Black Francis at
Black
the time.
Francis,
He became
yeah.
Frank Black for solo stuff, but
So Black Francis, yeah. He originally wanted to call the album Whore, but like in a biblical sense, because
Yeah,
this
right.
record has some very
A lot of-
weird themes of surrealism, biblical violence, and torture and death. But yeah, didn't think that would be a good idea.
yeah, he definitely has the a lot of those weird biblical imageries and surreal aspect. I saw an interview where he said that he does this. He called it a naive take on surrealism and Dada and stuff, and that's kind of just where he's coming from, and he doesn't think super egotistically about it. Like, I'm doing this brilliant thing. It's just
Right.
sort of what he does, and it's the way his mind processes images and stuff. He said.
It's a very 90s record to me in that respect, because this was like a pre-internet time, right? Where you would learn about off counterculture kind of things from music in a lot of ways. And it wouldn't be like, oh, I just read this article online and I can look up what surrealism is. Like, the first song Debaser is about like a surrealist movie that Salvador Dali made. And that would have been kind of like almost like a secret underground thing. Like, are you cool enough to know what that is? And if you learn about it from the song, it's like the song is then this key into this other world of like secrety, kind of occulty, kind of like cool art, intellectual things.
He said his interest in surrealism, he got into avant-garde movies and surrealism as an escape from reality. He says, to me, surrealism is totally artificial. I recently read an interview with the director David Lynch. This was back then.
Yes, I was going to read the same quote.
Oh, do you want to do it?
David Lynch said that he has ideas and images, but didn't know exactly what they meant.
Yeah. And
So
that's how I
the same,
write.
Yeah,
he
it's
said.
the same way he writes.
Yeah.
Which actually helped me understand David Lynch a lot better,
Yeah.
because he's brilliant, and I love watching his films. And he just did, I don't know if you guys know, on Netflix, there's a short film called
I saw that.
What Jack Did,
I watched that just a few days
which
ago.
is him like old, like noir style, like interviewing a monkey about a crime. And they've moved to put like a mouth on the monkey so it can answer him, but the dialogue feels so weird and stilted. And I think that's the thing with David Lynch, is like there's such non-linear aspect to it.
I almost felt like in that short that he was taking like responses from
Right.
something else entirely
And forcing them in, because it
into
didn't
his.
feel like
so
it made
weird.
any sense.
It was so weird.
Yeah.
And it looked like Eraserhead, like that
Yeah,
kind of
black and white with like
grainy kind of weird.
on angled shadows in the background.
So
Apparently
bizarre.
he was obsessed with making this movie for 2 years. He referred to it as his monkey movie.
I came across it, like I had never heard about it, and I saw, what the heck's this? It's like
Yeah.
17 minutes long. I'm
Yeah.
gonna watch it. What the
Yeah.
heck? It was so crazy.
Yes, someone at this table might have ordered 3 copies of the vinyl pressing of the love song that the monkey sings.
Oh, wow. That's
Not for us. They're copies for me and my siblings.
yeah. No. Who would have guessed? That
Yeah.
There were vinyl copies of that song.
And I was completely sober when I did it too.
Oh my
I just was
God.
watching it, like my hand of its own accord, beep boop beep, buying records.
There were some of the lyrics on that song, Un Chain Andalusic.
Un
Chien
Chien
Andalous.
Yes,
That's
please.
the title of
Andalusian Dog.
That's the title of the surrealist film.
It was
okay.
Luis Buñuel and Salvador Dali collaborated on it. And,
I gotcha.
And if it's really just full of lots of disturbing images.
Yeah.
In fact, slicing up eyeballs. Whoa. It's
Yeah, like super up close.
it's just, there's one scene where it looks like this razor
Oh, I've seen
is
this.
being dragged across the eyeball. And it's
Yeah.
just,
So it's the whole like basis of the Debaser,
Oh my
the first
God.
song. Yeah. Yeah. Roger Ebert called that movie like a basis for so much independent cinema.
it was 1920, was it 29 or something? That was when it came out. It was crazy a long time ago.
So Debaser's the first song, right? And it starts, and to me, the sound of it is so 90s. Like every time I listen to this record and it starts, I can't help but think of the nightclub in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the Bronze, where they would have bands play all the time, because it's like every band that
Well-
played at the Bronze heard the Pixies and was like, this is
Yeah.
how I make music.
Well, I was gonna
And here
say-
I'm going to make a crappier version of it.
It speaks to how much they influenced bands
Sure.
in the 90s, and they're often credited or blamed, as being like the beginning of like alternative rock as
Mm-hmm.
it became, and it wasn't their intent. Obviously, it was just they were just doing
the
their thing.
bass heavy, like
Yeah.
the bass had
Yeah.
such a huge influence,
Yeah.
because bass was such a huge part of like 90s style music.
Right.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
Not even
and-
one kind of it, but like Primus and like whatever 311 and then like
Well, and Nirvana
Yeah,
took
yeah.
the whole Pixies sound and sure used that as a basis for what he did with his songwriting for Nirvana. He apparently believed or said that "Smells Like Teen Spirit" was his attempt at writing a Pixies song. But actually, there's another Nirvana song that I think sounds even more like them, but it's that loud, quiet juxtaposition that they were
Yeah.
known for that he also used a lot in Nirvana. And there were some bands that outright copied them. It wasn't just like influence, but like trying to be.
That was a feature of this music that I did like. It was like quiet and then boom, you hit you,
Yeah.
and then it goes back to quiet again. Yeah.
Right. It's not like just like attack. It's like, it's really interesting dynamics. And that's what I love about them.
which is like one of their most kind of like descriptive things that everybody says about their style of music, is that it's either very quiet or very loud, and there's like no in between part.
I assume you've come across this, or maybe you saw it, but there's a documentary about them called Loud, Quiet, Loud. And it's all crammed together into one word. And it follows them on tour, like in the early 2000s when they reunited or something. And it's interesting, but it's also filled with a lot of interband animosity, hard feelings from, carried over. But, it's entertaining.
One more note about the before we get into it. All the songs are pretty short, which I love very much.
Yes.
I'm a big fan of short songs.
Yes.
I think that, if you can make a good song and you can make it short, you're way better a musician than someone who's just like, I'm going to play for 20 minutes. Who thinks that people need to hear that? But when they were producing it, they had this producer, Gil Norton, and he and Black Francis were arguing over the song length because Black Francis wanted to make them shorter. And so Black Francis took him to a record store and like picked up a copy of Buddy Holly's Greatest Hits and handed it to him and was like, here, if it's good enough for him, it's good enough for this record. And then
Like the longest Buddy Holly song is like 2 minutes long, 2.5 minutes.
love it.
Yeah, I mean, I think they come up with such interesting sounds with the guitar, and Joey Santiago is their primary guitar player. I think he's one of the most underrated, or least spoken of, as a great guitarist. And
There are some pretty cool
history.
sounds.
He
that
does
come
some
out of
really
this
amazing
work, yeah.
stuff. And I think they get such cool sounds, and his lyrics just get to the point of whatever weirdness he's getting at that point, and they get in and they get out, and yeah, why drag it on? Really, it's
Yeah. And then Kim Deal.
Kim Deal,
Oh my gosh.
coolest woman
She's a
in
bass
rock
player.
and roll.
She's
One of the coolest
incredible.
people in rock.
Yeah.
She's incredible. I love the style of her vocals. They're so ethereal, so like,
Is she the one doing the background in
Oh, yeah.
Debaser? She's speaking Debaser as it speaks.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Babies.
Yeah.
The very first Pixie song I ever heard was when Surfer Rosa came out, and Gigantic was, I don't know if you listened to that at all. Gigantic was the single off of that, and she does the lead on that, and I just loved her voice so much, and it was just such a cool song, and I instantly fell in love with the band, and her style is so, it's not quite monotone. I mean, she can be monotone, but
Right.
she's doing that on purpose.
Yeah.
Other times it's just this I don't know how to describe it. Ethereal is kind of one
It's like,
aspect
she's
of
just
it,
like
but it's
cooler
kinda
than what
tough.
she's even doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's, yeah.
She's kind of like somewhere, it sounds like she's somewhere else while she's singing.
She's too cool for most of us. Really, she's in a good way.
I think it's just because she doesn't really give a shit.
Yeah,
Like, I read or heard a quote from her at some point that she's like, she realized she was like her dad because her dad was the kind of person where it wasn't like, is it half full or half empty? The question is, who gives a fuck?
Yeah, every interview you ever see with her, she's lays it down, like she won't put up with crap. Doesn't care.
She's a real person.
Yeah.
She's just a person. She's
Yeah.
a sloppy, amazing, creative,
Yeah,
brilliant,
yeah.
bitchy, whatever person.
Yeah, I love her bass.
Yeah.
And she on the first album, I think she had dropped this by the time Doolittle was done. She was Mrs. John Smith. That's how she was billed on the album. It wasn't Kim Deal.
I think you've got that
they
name
split.
wrong. I don't think it's John Smith.
No.
I could have sworn it was Mrs. John something else.
Oh, wait.
It's
Murphy.
not John.
Murphy.
Yeah, it's Murphy. Yeah. Yeah.
We'll get to that in a moment.
I mean, I never wrote down, Mrs. John Murphy, you're right. I never wrote down the name because I kind of like, I get the joke of it that she heard, she was somewhere and she heard a woman who insisted on only being referred to by her husband's name.
Yeah.
And she thought it was hilarious. But to me, that's the kind of joke where you hear it once and you're like, yeah, that's kind of funny. And then now it like lives on in perpetuity because it's in the liner notes of the record. And it's like, I don't know if it's that good of a joke.
Right. It was like funny at the time, but in retrospect, now that she's Kim Deal and like the, just this name, that it seems a little.
Although now I'm coming back
goofy.
around again and I kind of like it. Like now that she's like a
I think it's
household
kinda
name.
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, also like how she got into the Pixies was pretty funny too. She read an ad that said, band seeks bassist into Husker Du and Peter, Paul, and Mary. Please no chops.
I remember hearing that.
And she was like, oh, I'm going to check that out.
Yep.
And she wasn't even a bass player. She borrowed her sister's bass.
Kelly Deal, who she formed the Breeders with.
Yeah.
And
her twin sister.
Yeah, they're the heart of the Breeders. Personally, I realized as we were listening to this that I've been listening to this album for 30 years, and the fact that this album is even 30 years old is kind of blows me away. And but it hasn't aged. I don't feel like it's aged in all that time. I loved it when it came out. I've never grown tired of it. It's like something I can listen to again and again. I really have trouble imagining overhearing it. Like, I mean, sure, if I listen every single day, but I just think it's such a timeless album. I mean, it's really hard to pinpoint the time. I mean, because it was an '80s album technically,
right?
But there was nothing else going on in the '80s that was like that. It's just so. When people think '80s, they think new wave, the early '80s, mid '80s, but what was happening with them was of its own whole thing, not really influenced by.
Yeah, it's like a bookend. It's like the beginning bookend of, like you were saying, of indie music.
Yeah,
because like they did this record, and now then everything for the next like 6, 7, 8 years sounded just like not exactly like it, but it just like it affected everybody so much.
Right, and sometimes it may have been like a step or two away from them. Like maybe the band wasn't even that affected directly by them, but then people they were influenced were then influencing other bands. So it's just cascading effect as well. I mean, because their albums didn't sell that well.
Right.
Although Doolittle apparently did end up being classified gold by the late '90s or something. So 500,000
Well, hearing you say that
copies.
you've been listening to this album for 30 years, that I can't really picture that because this is like it's kind of this grunge rock sort of thing.
Yeah,
it's kind of this harsh, rough sound, and knowing you as well as I do, I can't picture you listening to this kind of music.
Oh,
yeah, it surprises me.
Pixies are one of my favorite bands of all time. I mean, I would never be able to quite pinpoint what it is. I just think they kick ass, and they like are so inventive and wonderfully bizarre, and
they also don't take themselves very seriously. There's a lot of sarcasm. There's a lot of like funniness to it.
So
there's
fun.
A lot of like goofy, like silly voices.
And it's it's totally fun, and the recording quality is fantastic.
Yeah,
actually, I mean there may be a lot of noise
great.
going on, but it's really well recorded noise.
Yeah.
It's just
there's a lot of fun stuff in it.
So
like
good.
Crackety Jones, it just cracks me up. It's like a fun, weird, odd song.
I saw them twice in the late '90s, early '90s, like '91, '92, probably around the time Bossa Nova came out, and then again when Trompe Le Monde came out. And one of those two concerts was fantastic. The other one, not so much. They were like, I think they were really had been fighting a lot, and I think this was toward the end of their first period where after they broke up soon thereafter, and I think they seemed like they were angry at each other all the time on stage, which was just unpleasant, and it was not a fun show for some reason.
Terrible, poor guys.
Yeah, but definitely they were super cool the other time when I saw them. Kim Deal.
How could you tell that they weren't getting along really well?
They were just like making like angry faces at each other, and they were like, you could just tell there was something weird going on. And they didn't seem so into the concert anyway. But thankfully that was an anomaly.
You can tell that stuff. Like
You can
I saw
kinda pick
Amy
up on it.
Winehouse, and she was like in zombie mode. She was like singing, and she kept like messing with her hair while she was singing in a way that you would if you were just like staring out the window.
Right. It's something about the energy of a concert. You can tell when a performer is really on, and other times when they're just not all there, like, you know, in their head, they want to be somewhere else or something, you know. So it was something like that. So want to get into the songs?
Let's do it.
Let's
Do it, man. Debaser.
Yeah, and then it gets quiet so quick. This is the part that sounds like every bronze band in Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
I didn't watch the show, so but I'll take. Like, that's such a hard line to figure out what he's saying there if you don't read the lyrics and like realize it's the song, the movie title.
I like to feel so free that I could just scream into a microphone at the top of my lungs.
And this laughing that he's doing.
It's unhinged.
Yeah.
He is so committed to this song.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing the way he's singing.
The funny thing is, like, when you see them in interviews and stuff, they're so like normal. They're just like these average suburban. They probably grew up in suburbia, and he and was it Lover? No, it's Joe Santiago. I think they went to UMass Amherst, and that's where they met and started the band. And they're just like, you know, they're not like Sex Pistols where they're coming from this like hard scrabble, you know, background. And but he's like, when he gets in performing, he just like transforms into this crazy person.
Lucky
I love
for
it.
us. Yeah.
I know.
Great for us listeners.
I know.
Yeah.
Eric, you said you had starred a few of the songs there. Did you, what were some of the other highlights for you?
Well, as we move along here, the Wave of Mutilation was I thought was pretty good. Here Comes Your Man, I thought
I love
was
it,
my
yeah.
favorite song.
Oh, yeah?
As I was first listening to the album, I liked the musical part of it, and then the guy started singing, and my note is, what's this noise he's making with his mouth?
Yeah, if you're not ready for it,
But as I started listening to it more, I developed a little more of an appreciation for it. But there are a few songs on here that doesn't happen quite as much,
Yeah.
and I am able to relate to more.
well, I imagine Tame, which is the second song,
That-
must have been
right.
quite a shocker for you because he's just screeching.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, it's the word tame, which is he was being
True. It's kind of
anything but,
ironic.
you know.
Yeah. I love Kim Deal's background vocals on that one.
Yes,
On
yeah,
Tame.
yeah.
Yeah.
That matter of fact, kind of like subdued, subtle, but
It's such a good
Yeah.
contrast too to him,
Yeah.
which I could see. I mean, that's like almost how the chemistry is working so well in this record. Is you have this maniac screaming and laughing like a crazy person, and then she's got this like beautiful voice, and she's just in the background like, what else?
it's almost like she's saying, you know, don't mind him. He's just
Yeah.
he's just letting loose.
Yeah.
We're okay.
Yeah,
you
but
know?
I got this. I'm driving the beat, and I'm like giving you a nice high end, and like it
Yeah.
sounds beautiful, and like it's fine.
But you're right, Tame was hard for me.
yeah. Coming as a second song too. It's just a little jarring, I imagine.
I also like the ahas in it. That's pretty fun.
Yeah.
Around 110.
Should we play a little?
Sure. Or we could just go straight to Wave of Mutilation too.
Or we
since,
could do that.
since Eric likes that
Yeah.
song.
Okay. Let's
That's
do that.
cool.
There's a nice flow to it for sure.
Wave of Mutilation.
It's kind of
yeah.
it's kind of catchy. You know, I can easily sing along with that first hearing of it.
Do you know what it's about?
No,
Oh, this is a weird one.
lay it on us.
There was a period of time where all these articles kept coming out in the newspaper, like maybe I guess in the 80s. Would have been like the late
I'm not sure
80s
the timing on it, but-
about Japanese men killing themselves and their families by driving off of piers because they failed at their businesses.
just drive their cars right off.
Yeah, with the car
Drown,
in it.
yeah,
So
the family.
the second line, drive my car into the ocean. You'll think I'm dead, but I sail away. and a wave of mutilation. Yeah. Some deep shit,
Yeah, I reckon
this
so.
record, you know, like Bibles and surrealism and
It's
Japanese
like his choice of subject
suicide.
matter is so just could come from anywhere. It
Yep.
goes through his filter of his bizarre mind.
also very 90s. You know, you think about like Nine Inch Nails and Marilyn Manson and all this weird, like dark stuff that
Yeah.
started to kind of come to the forefront of music.
But for him, according to again an interview I saw, he said there isn't anger in his songs. He says he just does it for entertainment value.
Yeah.
And he's expressing some dark emotions, but he's
Right.
not angry when he's doing it.
Yeah, and I think that comes through too. Like, it
Yeah.
doesn't feel like it's like a bad,
Yeah.
Right.
you know, he's not going to try to convince you to do anything bad. He's
Yeah.
just singing about bad things, but he's like goofy
Right.
about it
Right.
still.
Right.
And then again, Kim Deal keeping us
It's
on
that-
the level.
Yeah, it's that sense of humor. It clearly comes through, and it's not like trying to win you over to the dark side or something.
He also said that he wrote this song a little tongue in cheek, like it was supposed to be the kind of thing to freak parents out.
Well, the title
Yeah.
certainly sounds like you'd expect some weird, crazy, punky or just
Yeah.
dark song, but it's very melodic and catchy.
It's social commentary.
Yeah, let's give it a little
Yeah.
play here.
I love that drum.
David Lovering is an amazing drummer. He holds these songs down, so it's like,
He was jamming back there.
and it's really well recorded too. I think.
It's so funny. Like, usually when we play songs as we're reviewing music, like, we'll talk about bits that happen, and we start playing these songs, and all three of us are just like nodding our heads, and we're all so into it. Like, we can't talk about it because we just want to listen to it.
I know. I forgot for a second. I was supposed to be thinking about
I
it.
know, right? It's like, oh yeah, this part, and then this line, and then the way that line goes. I love it so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, that drum intro again, like, it
Yeah.
makes me think of the band Live. You remember them? They were kind of big in the 90s for
yeah.
a little while, and like Rusted Root-ish. Probably not so much that, but just like,
Yeah. Well, I think the drum sound it was definitely another thing that carried over into alt rock stuff. It was like that clear, solid drumming. Like, the way it was recorded, I think, it was definitely a lot different than a lot of other stuff that was happening in the 80s. you
right.
know,
Well,
and-
because the 80s was like more synthy.
yeah, right.
Drum
right. And this was
machine-y,
like-
and then the
right.
70s and 60s was more like big, loud, noisy,
Right.
noisy,
It wasn't as much
echoey.
close miking on the
Right.
drums back then.
Yeah.
But this was like, you're getting all the parts of the drum nice and clear and like solid oomph, and I think that really carried over into 90s rock.
Which is interesting because then the
Smashing
guitars are
Pumpkins,
just like all the noise and distortion and the like wall of noisiness.
I think the Smashing
Buzz.
Pumpkins were probably heavily influenced by Pixies too, because
Oh, yeah.
there's a lot of that sound in their
Forgot about them.
music. Yeah.
Siamese Dream
Fan?
was one of my first CDs.
Oh,
I
yeah.
love that record.
That's a great record.
Yeah. Columbia House when I joined Columbia House when I was in high school.
Nice.
It was like Siamese Dream, Lenny Kravitz, Are You Gonna Go My Way, Aerosmith,
Nice.
because that's when those videos came out with
Oh,
Alicia
God.
Silverstone in them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Janie's Got a Gun.
No, she wasn't in those.
She wasn't. It was the next.
No, it was the next
Oh,
record with the cow
not the
udders on it.
elevator. Was,
No, it wasn't like Love in an Elevator. It wasn't any of that stuff.
I really couldn't stand that era of Aerosmith.
No,
It was like,
I'm over that. Yeah, anyway,
That would be a painful podcast,
Yeah.
I think.
Aerosmith.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's agree right now never to do that, huh?
Good.
Yeah,
I could
agreed.
easily
Done.
do-
Nope,
okay,
we're done.
That's fine.
Nope, we
That-
decided.
that's fine. But I could easily do 70s Aerosmith. There's some great stuff.
Yeah,
Toys in the
oh.
Attic is an amazing album. I'm just gonna say it right now.
You know what? We might as well just go ahead and do Black Crows then, and just like
What? Actually, I like the Black Crowes.
I knew you were going to do that.
They So
Yeah, man, that whole like there's
that is
just
not jam band. Don't say it's jam band.
I
'cause they're-
wasn't
okay.
gonna. I was just gonna say that whole vein for me is just I'm not into it.
The
But
song
I'm
"Toys
sure-
in the Attic" that is such a punk song. It's like, oh, it's amazing.
Is it Aerosmith?
Yeah. So, I Bleed.
I think that might be my favorite one on the record.
When I was listening to it, I was thinking about how the Pixies evolved after this album. And one of the great pities of that is that Kim Deal's vocal inclusion, I guess, it became less and less. And I don't know what the
Within
dynamics
the band
were within
or-
the band. Yeah. She because in this song, she's so great. I mean, just her like monotone underscoring of everything that Black Francis is saying, the "I bleed," and she's "I bleed" in this, and she adds so much to those songs that, as we were saying previously, just this kind of juxtaposition of the two sounds. And I, in the later albums, she was not present nearly as much, and I'm sure she had a lead vocal in any of those, which was kind of sad. And I think it's part of the reason she jumped off to do the Breeders. She wanted more. She wanted to do her own thing more.
I like the bass line in this song, but I didn't really care for the way that it was spoken.
Can we?
We can.
Yeah. The bass is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is like all the Breeders.
Yeah. Like Cannonball.
Yeah.
They can make even slow songs so fascinating. I think just like
I love it, the combo of him just speaking and her singing it.
it makes him sound more menacing.
And that like distorting guitar thing happening, that's also like everyone in the 90s was like, now I will do
know.
this.
And they didn't do it nearly as well. This song for me really sounded like one of the songs that I imagine Kurt Cobain was really influenced by, because it sounds a lot like the Dynamics of Nirvana song to
Yeah.
me. He had a lot of that bass heavy, quieter parts, and then
I like how he says nobody knows in that goofy voice. Nobody knows. That's good because it takes you out of it being too serious. Because it could easily, like, that's the other thing too. Their lyrics are so emo, you know, like taken in one, in presented in a different way, it would be almost insufferable.
Yeah.
You know, just like saying I bleed over and over again could just be like, I bleed, I bleed, I bleed. Like, oh my God, go paint your room black and shut up, you know, like wait 3 years and you're going to get over whatever's happening right now. But like when it's goofy and with the bass line and with the way the drums work and stuff like that, it just doesn't feel emo. It just, they're just saying
they
cool
have
stuff.
one thing as I was like looking at the lyrics, I was realizing how few words are actually in their songs. It's like compared to a lot of other bands and songwriters, it's just very short sentences and a lot of repeated lines, and really impressed with you can take so little and make so much out of it.
As my appreciation for this increased, I could imagine myself. I had a convertible for a little while. I could imagine driving around on a sunny day like today, just blasting louder than hell as I'm going up.
Ooh, I'm going to do that later when I go ride my bike.
Recommend it highly.
Yeah, that's going to be great. And then Here Comes Your Man, which is kind of a weird,
Here Comes Your Man.
Comes Your Man. Your favorite on the record?
Yeah.
It's so catchy.
It's
I want it to not be my favorite because to me it sounds like some kind of weird joke song, like that they're doing some kind of commercially viable something or other instead, but it's so fun. And it's so like, did they write it? Is it a cover?
Nope.
Nope.
It's they wrote it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was one of the 2 hits off the album. And by hits, I don't mean like top 40. I mean, but on modern rock stations is what they were called at the time. It went to, what was it? It was like top 10 on the modern rock charts. And that was all over the place. And Monkey Gone to Heaven was the other big
That's a good
hit.
song, yeah.
Those two were played a lot. It's hard not to love Here Comes Your Man. It's just such a catchy song, fun, surf guitarish, just kind of. And yeah, it sounds like a cover. It sounds like it should be like some old
Like
50s or early
Yeah.
60s or something. Yeah.
Well,
they
it's one of the few songs on the album that he didn't make that noise with his mouth, you know.
That noise with his mouth.
The video is really funny too. They
Yes.
did this super goofy thing where they would distort their heads, like make their forehead gigantic or something like that. And then instead of the camera would go to whoever was singing the part of the song, but instead of actually singing, they would just open their mouths and close them like a fish.
Well, and he would just leave it
Yeah.
during like a
Oh,
whole
yeah.
line or two. And then when he was like, would take a breath in the song, then he would close it.
Yeah. It's funny. It's a funny effect. And
It is.
they look like they're being really, they just don't care.
Apparently they hated making videos, the whole concept of it. And they especially hated the idea of lip syncing. And that was their way to like express their displeasure at this. Okay, here's what we're going to do. We'll just open our mouths. And Kim Deal does it too. It's like the two of them.
Yeah, it's funny.
It's great. Very cheaply made. It's like super low budget.
But I think all videos, most music videos looked like that at that
Yeah,
time anyway,
that's
because
true.
this was like the beginning of really every band had to make the music video because like MTV was the way to get.
Yeah. Although I was going to say Thriller had come out years before, so we already had like super
Well,
high
sure,
budget
sure,
videos
but-
too.
But I just mean that like, I don't know, that's Michael Jackson. Of course,
yeah,
what
I
he's
think
going to
in
have
this
the budget
world
to
of
do a
music,
thing.
there was
Yeah, they were an indie band. They were on an indie label, right? So they
And-
wouldn't have had like a big studio behind them to do
and back
stuff.
then selling out was definitely something.
Oh
that bands
yeah,
were trying
that's
to avoid
right.
Too. You know, like
this was
nowadays,
like a real thing.
That doesn't mean anything.
No,
but-
having cred as a musician was like everything. Like if you lost your cred, if you seemed like you were selling out, or if you were perceived to be a sellout, like trying to sell records or something, then you were fucking done.
and and the record companies would often try to make them do something like fun and stupid or whatever, and it just they didn't want to lose that.
Yeah, it's a completely, that concept I think is completely gone now. It's like
Yeah.
the reverse. Now it's like, get it, girl. If you can get a deal and be an influencer and whatever, like good for you and make all the money. But like, not back then.
Well, one of the greatest videos ever is The Replacements. I forget what song it is, but they did not want to make a video at all. But they were signed. They had signed to a big label, and so what they ended up doing was the video starts, and you're looking at the speaker of a large, one of those big floor speakers, and it just backs out over the course of the song until you see the whole speaker, and that's the entire video. Is just the speaker and playing the song. It's awesome. And my description doesn't do justice, but it was a great thing. And but there's just another example of the dislike for actually being in your own videos, especially. But so let's play a little catchy "Here Comes Your Man." I think that's like a reference to Hard Day's Night.
Oh,
First,
yeah.
the opening chord.
Yeah.
I have never read that, but I'm guessing.
This seems viable.
This also to me feels a bit like Velvet Underground, popped up a lot, like especially the title "Here Comes Your Man." There's they have the
Oh, yeah.
same
Waiting
same
for
title,
my-
Waiting for My Man.
Yeah, it's a different subject.
Yes, but the melody is similar to some of their catchier stuff too.
Love it.
Yeah. And that riff is so perfect, and you think, oh, that had to be lifted from somewhere else. It's like too perfect, but it doesn't bring to mind any particular songs. It never
It
has.
has kind of a Buddy Holly sound to it.
Right. I mean, there's definitely that in surf music in general, like surf Dick Dale kind of stuff. But
It seems so simple that surely they
yeah,
came
it's
from
like,
somewhere, right?
how did they come up with that?
Yeah, this song sounds like the genesis of a whole genre of dumber bands that are just like, this song's amazing, I'm going to do a whole thing on it. No,
I
just
think
let it
Weezer
be it.
is basically a result of loving the Pixies too much.
Which is weird because I
Not loving them too much, but copying them too
don't
much.
like Weezer.
Oh, I hate them.
Yeah.
And
Whoa.
no, I despise Weezer.
Me too.
There's like one song. I like the Buddy Holly song. It's clever, and
I kind of
Leo
liked
and-
those
and
covers they did of
Yeah.
like Toto and stuff. What?
I have to play this one Weezer song. It's just such a ripoff of the Pixies. It's amazing. About the sweater song.
Oh yeah, we know that song. Oh, you're just talking about the chorus.
With the whole sound of the track you're
Sure.
putting, it's just like
I actually like this song a lot more.
listen
I
how
loved this song when it came out.
wait till he starts singing. It's just like you expect your Kim Deal speaking along in the background here. Not this part.
Life's so red.
Oh my god, I didn't know there was such a long
Oh,
intro
so
here.
much talking. That's all the song is talking and then like,
Here.
yeah.
I mean, that's just like Where Is My Mind?
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just like,
Whoa,
man.
whoa, whoa. Let's
No
be
shame.
friends as I walk away. So then we go back to the Bible with dead.
Oh, yes. It's like I had no idea what that meant, but I was looking at like Bathsheba and King David and all this like impregnating and
Aping,
crazy
raping,
stuff.
taping, catharsis.
I am so not
What?
familiar with biblical stuff that I would have missed most of that, but I recognize the names. Like those are like biblical names stand out. They jump out at you. But
Bathsheba,
Like,
from my understanding, was just famously hot. Like King
Right.
David saw her
Right.
bathing on the roof and was like, "What's up?" And then did some bad things to get her. Like sent her husband into the front line of a battle to get him killed.
Is that the story? I know
think
that
so,
story.
yeah. Apologies to anyone who knows the real story.
Yeah. Well,
While you're
it's something
listening.
like that, approximately.
Bashing your head against a
Well,
wall.
she gets impregnated by him, and I know that much. And the song makes reference to that, like, "Oh, look, your belly's growing" or something.
Mm.
But it's got a really cool guitar groove to it too. It's
Mm-hmm.
just one of the coolest biblical songs.
This is the song that I was listening to when I first thought of driving down the road. Like
Oh.
blast.
Yeah.
Cool.
And my other note was there, end with a good buzz on.
Wait, driving with a buzz?
Oh, riding in a car.
I was gonna
Oh,
say,
riding in the car.
Yeah, you shouldn't be doing
We
that.
do not advocate drinking and driving. It's very dangerous and terrible.
That brought to you by the National Association for
For
Not Drinking and Driving.
Not drinking.
Let's play a little bit of that Dead.
Man dead.
Here's some drums in there. So far, it just sounds kind of noisy, but it's like, I mean,
I love that.
yeah. That is such a low bass. This is where it gets super cool.
What a great sound.
Yeah.
We're doing it again, you guys.
No,
We're just all really into it.
they have so many cool parts. I keep wanting
Yeah,
to wait till
right?
the next part comes, and then that
Yeah.
part after that. And,
Well, and then the song's done.
yeah, and then the song's over. Well,
Yeah.
It hurts to turn it on.
and then it gets all surfy again. Like Joey Santiago just loves. He's got so much of that surf guitar thing that flows through a lot of their songs. And it shows up. Sometimes more subtle than others, but it adds such a fun touch to what sometimes otherwise is just a noisier song. But
Well, it keeps it all together, right? Because you've got like a lot of noise and distortion and maniacal kind of vocal screaming, and then you have like ethereal, monotone almost vocal, and then you have like super sharp, really good drumming, like
Yeah.
rad guitar riffs.
it's such a good musicality, even though there's a lot of what you might hear as screechiness at first. They're all really good musicians, and
Where are these guys now?
They broke up, they got back together, and now they're
they've had a few. They've actually released several albums in the 2000s without Kim Deal. I think she might have been around for one of those. She gave it a try again, but she and Frank Black Francis. Actually, his name's Charles. Really, but, they do not get along very well. They just clash. So they have trouble working together anymore. But so yeah, they've been doing stuff, and they have who'd they bring in? They brought in was it Karen O of the Yeah Yeah Yeahs?
Did they?
I think they brought her in as a vocalist for a while.
Oh,
be
that's
wrong.
kind of a cool idea. I mean, I don't want anything without Kim Deal in it, but
Yeah, I mean, without Kim Deal, I am just really not interested in what they do, to be honest. We have a couple of their albums in the
Souths.
collection, and they're okay,
Yeah.
but they don't hold up. She was such a integral part of that chemistry, that, bass and singing, and
just energy.
Yeah.
Just her who gives a fuck energy. Keeps everybody grounded.
and Monkey Gone to Heaven, as we said, that was a big hit.
There's a part of that in there that remind me of the New Pornographers.
And Monkey Gone to Heaven.
Yeah. The singing, the harmonies, or
Oh,
I can't remember exactly what it was now, but I had a flashback.
it's definitely more. It's like more of a song. You know, there's more structure to it than a lot of their other stuff, or more traditional structure anyway. But it's such a funny song. I think it's about like the Earth dying, basically, like and
Ocean pollution.
and
Yep.
and the monkey gun heaven is people dying, and I think we are the monkeys. I think there's some biblical stuff in there, maybe. It's crazy. It's like any song that has lyrics like, there was a guy, an underwater guy who controlled the sea, got killed by 10 million pounds of sludge from New York and New Jersey. But still, people love this song. It's a
great song.
It's so crazy. Let's play a little. Her bass in this and all this stuff, it harks back to like Tina Weymouth and Talking Heads. Like,
Yeah, totally.
such a defining element of their music, and it's like mixed in and so well, like, so it's not hidden in the background.
That's it right there, the chorus.
Oh yeah. Actually, you're right. I had never occurred to me, but I definitely can hear that.
Yeah, I get it too. It definitely sounds like the New Pornographers.
Yeah. Ooh, Nico Cave singing Kim Deal parts. That'd be kind of interesting. It'd be completely different, but interesting. Well, I think if people know the Pixies at all, it's probably that song. Although, we haven't talked about it, but in Fight Club, they have that great scene where Is My Mind? And that's such a well-used song in there. And I think that may be the part that more people are familiar with the Pixies than anything else. Like the average
That's definitely
mainstream
what
public.
mine was before
Was
listening
it?
to this.
Your introduction
yeah.
to them,
Yeah, totally.
yeah.
Mr. Greaves.
Anybody have?
I thought
I
that was
really-
a pretty fun song.
I love the kind of reggae opening vibe to it. And then it turns into like upbeat pop punk.
It starts kicking. Yeah.
Do you have another opinion?
What?
Do you have? No, that's from a line from the song. Do
Oh,
you
is
have
it?
another
Oh, I
opinion?
was like, what? Yeah.
Do you have? I'm asking if you have an opinion. I love this song. It's a great song, but somehow it's maybe more the least interesting overall as far as dynamics and stuff go, and it's goofy and fun, but
I feel like the bass line sounds like a cartoon mouse getting chased. It's got that like cartoon
now I
vibe
have to
to
listen
it.
to hear it. I have to hear it now with that in mind. Let's try a little.
I super dig that.
Yeah.
There's a bit of a reggae type.
Oh,
song.
yeah.
That
Maybe-
echoey thing is.
Hope everything is alright. Hope everything is alright. What's that floating in the water? Oh, Neptune's only daughter.
Hear it?
I can see
Running
it,
mouse getting
Sure,
chased.
Sure. Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, I get where
Yeah.
you're coming from. I still love listening to it,
Yeah.
but yeah.
No, it's fun. It's definitely fun.
Oh, and then I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, go.
I was going to talk about the next song.
Yes, please do. Please do.
Because I love how it songs with "Shake your butt, not too hard."
Shake your butt. Is that what they say? I
Yeah,
I
not too
couldn't
hard.
quite hear the other part. I always
I'm
know,
pretty
shake
sure
your
that's
butt.
what he's saying. Shake your butt, not too hard.
Let's hear the beginning of it.
Jose Jones.
Oh no, that's not that. That's La La Love You.
I just skipped it. When I
You
was
just
doing
forgot
my
to write notes. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
sorry.
I'm sure you have an opinion
Shit.
anyway. Well, Eric, you said that was one of your stood out for
it's
you.
just like weird.
Super weird.
Yeah, it was entertaining in its weirdness, I thought.
Well, he likes to use Spanish in his songs a lot. And I wondered what that was because I've always, like, he did that a lot in Surfer Rosa, too. There's a lot of songs. There's one song that's almost completely in Spanish. But it turns out he spent half a year in Puerto Rico on an exchange program during college. And so he that's what he's bringing to the songs is usually references that he picked up there. And that's why his pronunciation is pretty good, too, I think. And apparently this one's about an actual roommate he had who threatened violence to him, and he was very scared of him
No.
during this time. So it's an autobiographical song. But
He got friends like Paco, Pico, Piedra, La Muñeca.
he's barking like a dog in there.
That guitar is just kind of all over the place. Also.
Yeah.
Sounds like it'd be really fun to perform this song.
And this one's only like a minute and a half or something. It's super short. That bass line is super fast too. She's like, man, I love him. He's just,
Cracks me up.
Yeah, the barking doesn't really like phase me as much.
No,
because I'm used to listening to Tom Waits make such weird,
Oh, yeah.
weird things with his
That's a good
mouth
point.
that I'm just like, meh, that's just what you do.
actually, there is definitely a kind of a similarity of sorts there between them and their willingness to just
Odd sounds.
go wherever they need to go vocally. You know,
Ooh, it'd be really fun to listen to this and back to back with Bone Machine, which came out in '94.
doing all sorts of growls and
Yeah,
grunts and
yeah. I feel like that they would work together in the same way that Black Francis and Kim Deal's voice works together, where they're like a study of contrast that reinforce the good things about each other.
yeah. And then you go to La La Love You, which again it sort of seems like it's a cover or something. At first, I think I used to think it was a cover of Vanilla because there is actually a song called La La Love You or something very close
Yeah,
to that,
yeah,
like
yeah.
a Philly soul kind of thing in the 70s. But this is not based on that as far as I'm aware. And it's sung by David Lovering, the drummer. So it's the only song that not sung by the other two, I think in their entire catalog, actually.
And according to the lore, they had to convince him real hard to sing it, and then once he got in front of the mic, he didn't want to leave.
They could not get him off the
Yeah.
mic.
This is when it starts shake your butt.
Yes, yeah. No, listen.
Not too hard.
Not too hard. Yeah.
I think that's what he's saying. Yeah.
Oh, I love that guitar sound.
Yeah, it's so great. You're right. It is like surf guitar, but they've remixed it into such a new sounding thing with the
Yeah.
way everything else goes that I keep
Yeah.
forgetting that it's surf guitar.
Yeah.
This song is so ridiculous. It's such a joke.
It is. It's so funny, though. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds so sarcastic. You don't believe it for a second.
Yeah. No.
And then he sounds like what, the Smiths?
A little bit, yes. He sounds like Morrissey a little bit.
Totally sounds like him.
Listen to the end of this verse. There's this third base home run.
Uh-huh.
First
Yeah.
and second.
It's about sex.
Yes. It's like the only part that hints that it's anything other than oh la la la. That whistle, that's just the whole thing is just such a. It feels like it would have been could have been used well in like a Quentin Tarantino movie or something. You know.
A little bit.
Well, there's definitely, in addition to the surf sound, there's also a lot of that Western Ennio Morricone kind of elements in there.
Yeah, there's a super westerny one.
Well, yeah, Silver.
Here. Silver, yeah.
Yeah,
Kim Deal wrote that song, right?
she co-wrote it. Yeah,
She co-wrote it.
I think I noticed that.
Oh, she doesn't. The drummer's playing bass on that one. That's what it is. And she's playing the slide guitar.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, I didn't see that. That's cool. Number 13, Baby, which is a little weird because while I know that song to listen to it, I somehow never knew that it was called Number 13, Baby. As I saw that, I was like, what song is that? Because at some point in my life, I used to. I mean, when I was young, I used to look at the album covers, you know, especially when it's vinyl.
Sure,
you know,
and like look at it while you're listening.
study it,
Yeah.
you know, and I know every song title and I know where it showed up on the album cover, you know. But then when CDs came along, I did less of that, and eventually I just only referred to it later, you know. And so there are song titles I've just completely missed, and that one is not at all relevant to what's contained in the song. So it just completely escaped me somehow. It just seemed really weird. But
There was the guitar lead out on the song. That
yes, the end of the song.
Yeah.
I love that. And also the part where he says, "I'm in a state," and the acoustic guitar is playing, and it happens twice in the song. I just love that. And
Got hair in a girl that flows to her bones, in a comb, in a pocket.
this is his weird idea of a love song, I think. Yeah, I love this.
These songs are like the weather in Seattle. You know, you don't like it. Wait 5 minutes.
Just
It's
waiting.
going to
Yeah,
change.
Yeah.
I find it a little hard to talk about these songs and this music because it's like seems kind of antithetical to the music
Yeah.
itself to like overanalyze it, even though like scholarship abounds on it and people are super into it. And like there's a series of books I don't know if you guys know about called 33 and a Third. Yeah, of course you do. No, I didn't mean it that
No,
way.
no,
I
yeah.
should have. But there's a volume on this record, which now I really want to read.
Yeah, actually, that'd be
So
really
it's like a book series. Each book is on one record.
and it's a different author. It's not it's like one person,
Or a
right?
different
Yeah.
collection of authors,
Each-
yeah.
Well, yeah, I think
Yeah,
each book
'cause-
is written by one person.
Oh,
maybe
the only
occasionally
one I
two,
own
but-
is the Twin Peaks one. It's written by a bunch of different people.
Oh, is it? Oh, well, I have one of them. I forget which one it is, but I think it's one person, and I think they just have one person for the most part specializing in that particular album. And it's not always presented the same way either. They kind
Are
of
there
do their own
loads
take
of
on it.
these?
There's a fair
There's quite a
number
few,
of them.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a pretty
There's
extensive
one of
series.
Pet Sounds too, actually.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
So
there's
that
just
would have been valuable to have read prior to recording these.
there
Or
are
not. I mean, you don't want to.
there are like
get too much of other people's ideas in
142
your
of
head,
them
too. I mean,
apparently.
how many?
142.
Wow, I didn't realize it was that many.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Well,
The Kinks is on here. You'd be happy to know. That stupid Village Green record that I hate.
you should read that. Maybe
Guess
you'd
what?
appreciate it.
I don't want to. And I shan't. Oh, I could read the one on Dangerous by Michael Jackson. I love that record. I know. I'm like the only person.
Well, I know what you're saying though, because I mean his lyrics kind of do invite some analysis. You have to admit.
Yeah, there's stuff going on.
But at the same time, it's such a visceral kind of music. You know, you feel it as much as you. I don't know. It's more my body reacts to it in a certain way, and like you know, my brain does things, and I don't know. I'm like I'm not always like just listening that closely, but even when I'm not, it's like it affects me somehow. So yeah, to talk about it can be a little strange.
Like you also alluded to, it does invite some analysis because he talks about some really important stuff. In some
Yeah.
of these.
Yeah, it's a really interesting thing.
Very scholarly things, really, when it comes down to it, but in a weird way. You
well,
know,
they
but-
did record in Boston and in Cambridge, so it's very.
exactly. That's true. Yeah, they were actually a local band when I first heard them. They hadn't really. I'm not sure when I realized that they were becoming kind of well known nationally. I guess it must have been this album because I knew they were doing really well with this. But anyway, so then we have "There Goes My Gun," which is a fun little thing. But
Any song that starts with "Yoo-hoo" is going to go in a good place.
and it has almost no lyrics. It's got like 3 lines are just repeated basically, and you can attach any meaning you want to it. Really, like I feel like somebody's running around with a gun. And he says, "Friend or foe, friend or foe," and like I don't know.
Well, is this is he saying friend or foe, or is he saying
Yeah.
friend is foe?
I believe it's friend or foe, like asking,
I know, it
like,
does sound like
shouting out, like who's out there, and aiming a gun in that direction. Or something. That's the picture I get.
I like the bass on this one. That sounds like Twin Peaks, kind of like a David Lynch vibe to it, which I super dig.
Yeah. Well, Kim shows up in both that way, and her vocals are really cool in this too. I think. Oh, let's play a little bit of it.
Let's
quick.
play it.
What the heck? Nice feedback.
Bass is awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not the bass that's the David Lynch sound. It's the guitar. That like lonely desert car driving
Yeah.
guitar. Yeah.
The next song, this may very well be my favorite Pixie song. I think I've come to that realization more as time has gone on, and I think it's like the perfect distillation of what makes them great, and I just love it. I don't even know if I can explain why I love it so much, but it's just I've been trying to meet you, and like this whole like semi hip, like pseudo hip kind of thing you're doing, and
wild and
and the
crazy guy.
music is so sparse but cool.
There's like a
and-
funk kind of
Yeah,
slinkiness
yeah,
to it. I
right.
called it slunk guitar. I've just said it instead of funk slunk. Yeah.
That's good. Did you come up with that?
Yeah.
Nice. I will be sure to attribute that to you if I ever use the.
Thanks.
term,
Until he re-edits this. I came up with
Yes.
this new word.
but I like to call this slunk.
Puts that in before I mention it. Yeah, I'm so glad you like it this much because I like this is exactly the kind of song that I love.
Yeah.
And then whenever like Rob and I are in the car listening to a record, I'll be like, oh, my favorite song, and I'll like put it, and he's always like bored by them. It's just a difference of
Yeah,
opinion we
yeah.
have about music styles.
Well, it's not a song I would expect other people to love as much. Somehow, I like I said, I'm not sure what it is about it. I love
No,
it.
I love
I
it.
have a feeling playing it for people would maybe get that reaction.
No,
You know,
I love
like,
it.
Yeah, and it's
I love it. I love it.
What
I
are the
love it.
characteristics about it that you like so much?
There's something about the guitar sound. Can you start it?
There's such a great vibe to it. I just yeah.
Hey! Been trying to meet you.
Oh yeah, the guitar when it comes in.
Yeah.
This guitar
I love
is
that
so-
style of guitar. It's usually pretty sparse, right? With that over it, reminds me of like, in a different way, reminds me of Yellow Ledbetter and a song called Cold Fame by a Band of
Oh.
Skulls.
Well,
Yeah,
This sounds like a Stones tune.
a little bit,
a little bit like
but never gets honky tonk, thank God.
If you go, I will shut it down.
Perfect.
This is amazing.
It just cracks in the best spot.
this part where it builds into this like gradual, and she comes in.
Oh, man.
We're chained, and it feels like emotionally impactful too. So like we're chained for better or worse. We're just we are together. It's like
I love that guitar too, man.
yeah.
I think this is the song that, like, if I was listening to this record and not concentrating on it, I would always get stuck by this one where I'd be like, wait, what is going
Yeah,
on? I
yeah.
love it so much.
I know. And here, the lyrics here, I think this is where it comes to. This is such,
Yeah, me too. The swap.
I love this. bass in here.
It's popping our heads
I
over
will.
here.
Doing it again. So we just want to listen to it.
Okay, here's.
Ooh.
Man to the lady. Lady to the man she adored, and the whore is like a choir. All night, man, ain't you tired of this? Yes, the sound as the mother makes when the baby cries.
I could
Yeah.
listen to that all day, but
It reminds me a little too of Talking Heads.
There, I hear some of
That last
also, yeah.
last verse.
yeah,
Like it feels a little like
Yeah.
David Byrne and his like whoa
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
like
That's a good point. I,
yeah. Yeah, totally.
said the man to the lady, to the lady to the man she adored, and the whore's like a choir. Go all night.
Yep.
It just
It's so romantic.
yeah.
I think that might have become my favorite song on the album all of a sudden.
It was. I wanted to say it was my favorite, and then I felt like it was a lame song somehow in one of my analysis moments. You know that I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I just like it
Maybe
because
I'm
it's got that
overthinking it or
guitar,
something, yeah.
that like kind of. I don't know how to describe it. That
But I-
guitar sound that I love so much.
Yeah, but I think it's just the perfect distillation of what they do, you know. And it's just like, if I had to play one song to make people like see what they were doing, what the Pixies do,
It would be that.
It would be that. I think.
Interesting.
I don't know. It would certainly not cover all the bases, obviously, but I don't know. I just love it so much.
It's so crazy though too that how much all three of us are digging the sound of this record when so many songs are so different from each other. Like they're similar, right? They have the elements that clearly it's part of the same record, part of the same band. But that song, Here Comes Your Man, I Bleed, like Debaser, like they all have such a different vibe to them, like an overarching kind of theme musically. It's cool.
I think Black Francis, his vocals are really maybe what ties it together. So the next one's Silver, and that's
Yeah.
the one we were talking about being very Western, and it's certainly. I mean, it's probably stands out on the album as being the most different than anything else. I think musically, but it's a great break.
Yeah, I love
like
it.
before you get into Gouge Away, and it's a very dramatic kind of Western film.
Oh yeah.
feel.
Also, it. I don't know if there's a skit on Portlandia about wow music, which is about all the music that's written for all the shows like True Blood and True Detectives, and like it's all like swampy, sexy, like wow kind of music, and this is exactly like this song.
That's
It's a really funny skit. Wow.
funny thing is the high part is him. Kim Deal's doing the low voice.
What?
Yeah. Did you know there's a song by the Dandy Warhols called As Cool as Kim Deal? We're not the only ones who think she's super cool.
We are most definitely
No.
not the only ones. And part of her coolness is for sure in that if you met her and tried to be like, you're so cool, she would just be like, what?
Whatever.
Yeah.
So that's got such a atmosphere.
I like the way that guitar just kind of fills
Yeah.
the space.
I think it's the only song that kind of goes along at the same. It doesn't really change the way the other ones do.
Yeah, it's
I
a little
think
droney in its rhythm in a good way.
Yeah, in a good way, definitely.
Yeah, or
It's-
dirgy maybe is better. It's like a Western dirge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't get boring. It definitely maintains that pace throughout. the instrumentation is super cool. And then we get to Gouge Away, which is just an amazing song.
What a subject matter for a song. Jesus.
Did you take it as biblical again?
It's about Samson and Delilah.
Yeah. I'm not as familiar with that story, but I definitely picked up on what appeared to be lots of biblical references. And I also thought if you don't look at it biblically, it's sort of like a bit like the damage people can do to each other within a relationship, sort of like gouging away.
Yeah.
Despite.
But his eyes were gouged out.
Yeah, right. No, I did. Yeah,
okay.
I did catch that after I looked up in some stuff about it. So I love the bass line in this. And then when it raves up and the guitar just goes, and let's play it. Unless you
No, I'd like to hear it.
say something else. Oh, the guitar gets so cool in this. That's rad. I don't say rad very much, do I?
No, I'm just laughing at us, like, just jamming out to it.
Yeah.
We just keep forgetting we're making a podcast about it.
Right here. That's like even understated for Kim Deal. I mean,
You know, I think part of it too, what's happening with their music and why it's so cool, is there's like a total cinematic aspect to it.
yes.
Right? Like, it's goofy, but it's thematic, big themes, and the sounds that they make in the songs are like, feels like things are happening,
Yeah.
right? Because it's so upbeat, and then it changes. Like, it's like each song is a soundtrack of something.
And I feel like there's like these wide open expanses of scenery. I mean, like everything's happening in this very big. There's something about the openness, despite the grungier aspects of it. You know, there's like this real openness to the sound, and it lends itself to what you're saying about the like, kind of theatricality, and it all feels like a big play.
Yeah.
Some weird,
or like a surrealist painting.
Surrealist,
where there's
yeah.
like, oh, there's a melty clock over there. Okay.
yeah, it's got great cinematography for music. I think it's got,
There you
it's sort
go.
of the way it feels.
I can't wait to listen to it again.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to it myself with my new headphones.
Nice.
Oh.
Yeah.